You come upon the landing area, and the ship kind of careens down and, pivots and turns. And Dakani is so it's a warm planet, but I would say not necessarily like a desert or particularly like scorching heat. Think of it as more of kind of an arid mesa wasteland. It's very, very Mad Max-ish, as is appropriate with the the warlords running it and that kind of stuff. But it's like futuristic Mad Max, right? Where the future isn't a hellhole. It's got technology and stuff. If you've ever been in New Mexico or Nevada, that kind of atmosphere, I would say, is most of the planet. And again, between the planet, the asteroids, the moons that surround it, there is about 20 billion people that live in this on or around this planetary body. So you see like these large kind of sprawling, I wouldn't call them cities per se, but like settlements of, maybe a couple of story buildings. There's probably no particular buildings that are taller than 5 or 6 stories. They're just kind of sprawled out in every direction. And you probably fly over like one of two of these going down to your landing point. And then you arrive in one that is fairly large. It appears to be like a multi-center of some sort. And we see that on the like we get the little titles at the bottom, right? And it actually says Gibraltar is the name of the city, and it says Day 1 below it as well. And so we land at Gibraltar, which is the name of this particular settlement. And you guys, when you land, what's the initial reaction? There is a medical team waiting out with like a gurney, right? Mm-hmm. And you can see that there's a doctor there, and he's a tall. He's got like very clean. He's clean shaven, but there is a distinctive thing about him. He appears to be Tan. He has the purplish color to his skin.
Okay.
He's not a human. And he's got like the TL4 stethoscope around his neck, whatever the heck that looks like. And you can see him wearing the medical coat, and you can see like a bunch of nurses and stuff around him, like getting ready to push the gurney up as it lands and the ramp descends.
When we land, like as soon as the ramp goes down, Oscar is waiting there, like, so he would have Chan on a stretcher and just kind of like be carrying him to meet them.
Okay, so you're actually gonna bring Chan out of the med bay and bring him over there?
I mean, they have the facilities, don't they?
Yeah, they do. I mean, kind of, right? Again, well, this is like a...
So Fisher, if you wouldn't permit that, you should say so. Like
yeah.
If you would say something counter to that, then that does not happen.
What I mainly want from the Doctor, apart from helping get us 3 patched up, is the professional opinion on whether Chan would have still most use of his brain functionality should we manage to reverse the process.
Yeah, you're looking for the second opinion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, we do have a rather decent medical facility, I think, on the ship.
Yeah,
it's probably not anything worse than what they have outside.
Yeah, I would say it's equivalent or possibly even better because it's more isolated, right? Like there's a lot less external factors that could come into play.
And Jort, let's talk about external factors for a second.
Yeah.
We just came into contact with some external factors.
Yeah,
and that didn't go super well.
It didn't go super well. I mean, you killed more of them than killed you. So far.
So, at one point, you and I don't know if this is a real thing or not, but at one point you and I had discussed the Fisher's fancy schmancy scalpel as having like inbuilt software to assist with medical roles. So like that was also something that he did not have access to at the time.
I applied the fact that if he's using the scalpel or if someone is using the scalpel to perform a procedure, like an actual like surgery or something that a scalpel itself would be useful for, then you get an additional bonus to your med rolls.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm that because I don't know that we ever actually told Will that.
Yeah, so
you
like
and I discussed it.
Like confirming the status of a patient would not apply, right? But like
yeah.
if you went to go do the brain surgery,
But,
you could make much more precise
acting
cutting
upon
with
something.
Yeah. Totally.
Like pulling fragmented lead out of someone's meninges.
Yeah.
Or okay, so then Oscar he in fact does not do that thing that I said.
Yeah. So you and Fortune are basically waiting there to like bring them all on, right?
Yeah, yeah, he's waiting to assist in any way that he can, just to, if nothing else, to direct them to the medbay.
Yeah, totally. So, Gogo, when you land the ship, where do you go?
I think that even before it's like landed properly, she just like
kind of like
stands up and like
kind of like
screeches.
screeches.
It's like the car's still rolling forward, right?
Yeah,
but like is the equivalent to
you screech to a halt a little bit as you're like getting up. You hit the gas a little bit and it just and then stops.
She just like doesn't even freaking like put the parking brake on or anything. She just immediately like realizes that it's like sort of landed and just immediately stands up and runs as hard as she can to the medbay.
Yeah, totally. So when you arrive, Fisher, I assume that perhaps you have at least done what you can by this point, but maybe not. Maybe it's just out in all the open. That's totally up to you. So Gogo comes bursting into the room, and Gogo, the first thing you notice is in the same function that your friend once was stabilized. Chan has that blue kind of gel aura around him, and he's like lying peacefully on the med table.
Yeah, I think she sees that and she runs in and like goes up to Fisher and she's just like, how bad is it?
Pretty bad. It will depend on the doctor's second opinion. But,
aren't you a doctor? But how can't you fix him?
Brain surgery isn't my forte, so it may be difficult.
Yeah, and so I think that when he says brain surgery isn't my forte, Gogo, you actually look and you can see like there's maybe like a patch over it, but Chan clearly has had like a traumatic head wound of some sort. Yeah, in some regard to like basically like right by his temple area.
Yeah, so I think Gogo finally like actually looks at him, and she just kind of like drops to her knees near the side of his bed, and she's just like, oh God, no, please, no. And she just starts like sobbing, and it's just she can't function.
Yeah, and so that's probably the scene where like Fortune and Oscar walk the nurse and the nurses and the Tan doctor in, and I think he walks up and he says, he kind of looks around. He sees you, Fisher. You're covered in blood, right? Because you also took a shot, right?
Yeah,
like
my shoulder's probably still.
Yeah, like you're seeping blood out of your shoulder a little bit, right? And he like looks at you, and he looks at the person on the med bay, but he identifies your lab coat that you're traditionally wearing, and he says, "Are you the physician? My name is Dr. Carter. I realized that you reported you had injured."
Dr. Carter. Dr. Philip Fisher.
It is a pleasure. Tell me, are these the injuries that we are speaking of? And he kind of like motions to your shoulder, and like also, Fortune, you didn't take a hit, but Oscar did. But you're still in your suit, so you probably can't tell.
It would also be sealed, so like probably halfway up his thigh is like filling with goo.
Yeah, exactly.
At this point, I'd probably
he's not
walk over.
obviously injured.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I'd walk over to Gogo, realizing that she's like on the floor sobbing, and I'd probably like either help her up or pick her up and say, "We're not gonna help in here."
So you go to try to touch me to like pick me up?
Yes.
To like move me away from him?
Yes.
Yeah, she would lash out at you and be like, "Don't fucking touch me, I'm staying here."
All right. Make an athletics check.
Yeah. Forcefully remove her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Comparative athletics check, I think, in this instance is a good representation of what might happen. Or if Gogo, you just want him to forcefully remove you from the room. He is Oscar. You can use strength or dexterity. It's up to you. No?
Ha!
So yeah, she's doing that thing where like she's holding on to the railing and like has looped her arms in, and like you're trying to like pull her back and like it's just not working. You like have her over your shoulder and you're like trying to pull, but she's like got leverage and is kicking and struggling, and you can't grab a good hold of her. Dr. Fisher, you see Dr. Carter, who's standing there, and he kind of like looks at you like concerned, like, you know, what is all this?
I probably bring a few pieces of paper with a preliminary report on Chance.
You don't address the screaming Gogo and Fortune wrestling in the room?
No, I've gotten used to this craziness already.
Yeah, and I think that Dr. Carter like takes him from you and he says, "Is that a place we can work?" And he kind of like looks and he says, "I noticed that you've appears to use some sort of stimulant. I'll need details on that as well."
Of course, I've written everything down, but perhaps we should deal with the current injuries rather than the main task I was to ask you about.
Yeah, and I think that he kind of like, again, he's distracted watching this scene play out between Gogo and Fortune, and he probably like he goes up and he looks at you, Fortune, and he kind of like holds up a hand, like, you know, he does the universal sign for like, you know, hold on a moment, like, you know, calm down. So like you drop Gogo and she curls up against the like doing the leg and arm grapple on the medical bed, right? The med table.
Yeah. Olympus chat is highly relevant.
And so yeah, there you go, perfect. Yeah, he kind of like crouches down, like squats down, and is like looking at you, Gogo, and I assume you're like not looking at him, like looking away or whatever.
Oh, I'm like laser focused on Jan.
Yeah, you're just like staring at him. And he begins to speak in this like almost melodic voice, in a different language though. We would know it to be in Tan, and he's going to roll. Oh no, I guess he's not going to roll, but he begins to attempt to calm you down with the soothing of his voice. And I will mention he has a +1 in charisma. He has a good bedside manner. So you can decide how you react to it. I won't force a roll upon you. But it's almost like he's singing a lullaby in this other language, and it's kind of ethereal a little bit. In like the moment of, if you've ever heard like somebody who speaks a different language singing in that language, how it's kind of exotic and kind of like almost, I mean, I'll use the word, it's almost alien in its sound, that it's like so unique and thoughtful that it like draws you away from whatever else you're doing. In fact, I would reference the video that was played earlier in general chat that Brian linked of that girl singing in Russian. Like, that's the kind of like voice that he's putting on. But again, you can choose whether or not to react or not.
Yeah, I think it would be odd enough to cause her to at least turn to look at him.
Yeah. And so when you do that, you see he's got a very kind smile on his face, and he kind of like ceases and he says, "Ah, there she is. Hello. My name is Dr. Carter. Your friend here. I am here to help him."
Gogo's doing that like, like when a predator is like observing either something that it views as a threat or something that it is unsure of. She's just kind of like peering at him, like if he says the wrong thing, she's going to slash his throat out, but is waiting until he does the wrong thing.
And I think he says, you're a cage, you got the caged animal.
Yeah, right.
I think he says, "Would you also like to help your friend?"
She nods.
Okay, yeah, he says, "I can show you how, but first, I'm going to need you to give some space. I must work, you understand. But I promise, you will not have to leave the room."
She backs up a single step.
Yeah, there's like the step back. And he kind of like motions for Dr. Fisher to give him the stool or whatever.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah, and you roll it over, and he places it very gently, kind of like behind you, for you to sit, Gogo.
I stay standing, but I understand the gesture.
Yeah, and then he gives you a sadder smile at this juncture, and he turns his opinions to the clipboard, and he kind of he starts barking orders at some of his colleagues, the nurses that are all just kind of like standing in there. And you notice all of them are human, both the men and the women that are nursing here. But he's speaking to them in Tan. And they all you see them nod their heads, and some of them begin like going out, and some of them like come over to grab the clipboard and like take it away to go like file it or do whatever they're gonna do with it. And begins rolling up his lab coat sleeves. And he says, he turns to the group of you and he says, This may not be pretty. If you wish to stay, then mind your stomachs. Any contamination can be, well, quite bad in this situation."
I probably look over at Oscar, and I give him the, like, watch Margot hand signals.
Which you actually have.
Yeah, well,
yeah, I mean,
yes. This isn't the first time that hand signal's been given.
Yeah. Even Stanley knows that hand signal.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm gonna exit the
Yeah.
Yeah, you get the nod that says, like, yes, I can put approximately a ton of force on her in...
Yeah.
If need be.
Yeah. Yeah, the plan we've discussed multiple times before will go into effect.
Yeah.
Operation Go-Go Stasis
Yeah.
is also a definite possibility.
Totally. So, Dr. Fisher, you see Dr. Carty rolls up his sleeves, and he kind of peers down at the bandage, just bandage that you kind of placed over it, basically just to hide it, right? Because when Chan's in this state, nothing about him or of him like moves or reacts in any way. So it's not like necessary to like stop the bleeding or anything, because the stim has done that. It preserves him in exactly the function in which it was placed on him. And you see him, he like very gently like kind of peels it back and looks in, and you see like an eyebrow raise, and he kind of like looks over, and he says to you, Dr. Fisher, he says, "Small caliber fire. Close range."
Indeed.
Yes, I can see some of the gunshot residue still. How did this happen?
how it only happens with a small caliber weapon at point blank range.
Yes, but specifically it is important to know details. We deal with many things here on Dakani. Some of them being poisoned rounds.
Oscar speaks up when he says that, and he says it was a submachine gun, close range, nothing unusual about the weapon. He was taken hostage in the same engagement that our doctor took fire.
Yeah, and then I think he turns to you and he says, yes, but what about the people?
Sriek. But
all of them? Or only some?
I presume all of them. We cannot confirm. Some fled.
Yes.
The dead their casualties were all Sriek. Their leader, who opened comms with us, also Sriek.
Yeah, and you say that, and he kind of looks, and recognition dawns on his face, and he nods. He says, Zamlong. Yes, this is perhaps her people. Makes sense. It is their style, although I am surprised that there was gunfire exchange at all. They are quite precise. Typically do not get caught unawares. That is something to be said for you, I say. And, like, while he's doing this, he's, like, peering at the wound, and he's peeled the bandage off, and he's kind of, like... You see him, like, moving around the bullet pattern, and then you see him, like, checking for exit wounds and checking for other forms of injury and kind of doing the evaluation down the body.
And he says, yeah, yes, she identified herself. Are you familiar?
Yes. Yes, I am. Again, probably one of the... Well, it's hard to say better in these circumstances, but probably one of the better warlords around.
We will speak of this at length a different time.
Yes, well, that depends on very much how much you wish to save your friend. And you can see him, like, he begins to, like, go down and, you know, searches the whole body, and he gets to the toes, and you can see him, like, trying to do simple tests, like, you know, opens the eyelids, checks for pupil dilation, that kind of stuff.
Wait, what does he mean by that? Exactly.
He doesn't elaborate. Do you ask him?
He says, how could our future conversation impact this result?
Yeah, and I think that, like, while he's, like, doing the pupil dilation, and again, he's, like, in his work, but also talking, he says, well, I can tell you right away, we do not have the facilities here to handle this type of injury. Usually we would just call this one a dud, but I can see that this is clearly passion for some of you. And, again, doesn't look at anybody, but we all know he's talking about Gogo. And
Gogo knows he's talking about Gogo.
He says... People have been known to survive injuries like this before, but what I can say is whatever this stasis that you have him in makes it hard to evaluate his actual condition. Doctor, and he turns to Dr. Fisher, he says, were you able to do a preliminary evaluation before placing him in this stasis? He's basically asking, like, you know, how good of a check did you do? What are some signs that you noticed of life before placing him in this stasis? Because, like, it's totally possible, unfortunately, with the system, for somebody to be completely dead, but you don't know, right? Because he's in stasis. He's completely preserved from the moment. It's basically, like, preserved in time, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, due to the nature of the injury, I wasn't given the chance to give a preliminary check.
Yes. Would appear as much. What I can tell you is this injury is grave, perhaps fatal, perhaps not. I've seen worse and had people recover, I'll bet, with usually a loss of motor skills or memories, perhaps even identities. But it's not really able to tell until they awaken from this.
Yes, that was my main concern. Whether we would be able to at least keep the body functional.
Yeah, he shrugs and he says, the one thing we could do is run a scan, at least see if there is any internal damage. But beyond that, I wouldn't be able to say. It's about the best we have. And you have the equipment to do this on the ship, by the way. It doesn't have to be moved to do this. You just haven't had time, right? Because it takes probably about 30 minutes to go through that entire process and procedure. And he says, I could evaluate that, but the chances are slim that there would be no repercussions in this instance.
Yes. I mean, I do know of some methods to help in certain situations like these, but for that to work, I would need to be assured that the body was surviving, nothing else.
Well, let's run the scans. If there is, well, we'll be able to see the damage from there.
Indeed.
Yeah, and so you set about wheeling it back into the scanning machine and the CAT scan basically. Well, not CAT scan, that'd be bad. Basically taking X-rays to figure out where the shrapnel is, what it might be impacted, etc., etc. Go ahead and roll me a tech med roll, Dr. Fisher, and I'm going to roll one for this guy as well. Dr. Kata. Although I'm just going to do it like this. Oh, he rolled poorly.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Fisher, with an 8.
Could I reroll?
Yeah, absolutely. You could reroll if you'd like.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Actually, this guy could reroll too, right?
He's not a PC. He doesn't get rerolls.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
That's only
PCs are special.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I could do that, then there would be so many people dodging your attacks.
Yeah, seriously. Every warrior in the game would be just like
Yeah, no, I'd be way too broken in
ballerina
combat.
dancing around our shots and shit. 3 minutes on the hour,
Yeah.
Phil.
And you guys have a hard enough time hitting them anyway, so I'd rather not do that to you.
That's my fault. That's not the game's fault. That's my fault.
No, yeah, you actually just roll horribly.
I also built a stupid character. Let's be real.
I mean, yeah.
It was an attempt to min-max, but failing at the min-max.
I would say niche. It's a niche character.
Yeah.
You just wait till I get to level 6. We'll see what's on.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Devin, I'm coming back to you in just a second while all this is going on. So the results of the scans, Dr. Fisher, with a 9. The damage is pretty severe. There is very little chance that Chan will come back at 100%. Probably less than 1%. There will be some function of his being or motor functions, physicality, memories. One of those things that I mentioned will be affected.
Ian could probably stand to lose some memories if we're being honest here.
True.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if he forgets he needs a collar, does that mean Dr. Phil's research is complete?
Yeah. But yeah, there's definite damage to the brain here, beyond just the initial impact. Although he doesn't have a whole lot of insight because he rolled a 5 somehow.
He's dealing with the stim medicine. So
the Ton doctor asks, "Where did you find this dog?"
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, pretty much. What even is a bicycle?
Fucking A, Jordan.
yes. So essentially, I ascertain that if we are able to fully stabilize him, then
yeah, if you go through brain surgery, there will be repercussions on the other side.
But brain surgery is possible.
It is possible. Again, like, he also could die before you can do anything if you take him out of stasis, right? Like, this is evaluating a patient in stasis with this kind of damage. Taking him out of stasis, who knows how long you have until it becomes not useful anymore.
Sure. Okay.
Well, we do have a storage bay set up in a freezing condition.
Good point. You should probably deliver that though, so you're not also out that delivery.
Well, that's what I want to do while all this is going on. I need something to take my mind off what's going on, or Fortune does. So.
Well,
yeah.
Fortune's gonna have to take care of that himself.
That's fine. Fortune is a businessman.
So while that's going on, Fortune, where do you go when you leave the med bay?
I go to the cockpit.
Yeah, so you go to the cockpit and you notice there's like a message warning on the comm panel, and it's just like a text message from the acquisitions officer here at the facility, and it's like super bubbly, right? It's like, hey,
so
we're glad you could make it
right now.
Yeah, extra annoying, right? It's like, hey, we're glad you could make it. Whenever you're ready to coordinate the delivery of supplies, come meet me at Office 106. I hope you're having a great day, right? And then it's signed Julia at the bottom, and then acquisitions officer.
But by the time I'm done, like, is it a voice message or just a...
It's just text, but it's it comes across that way.
Yeah, I probably like delete it in a very angry manner and head to Office 106.
Okay, yeah. So you walk down the ramp, and when you walk out, you kind of get that blast of dry heat, right, from the arid world. And probably the thing that assails you the most is the cacophony of, like, city noise, right? You used to be in on the ship, which is a bit creaky. The ship's a little bit creaky, but, you know, it's a ship, and typically it travels through the dead of space. But as soon as you step onto this planet, it's probably the most populated, like, city center that you've been to in a very long time.
Yeah.
In fact, it probably kind of feels like back on Fatine, right, in the space station, where everything echoes and reverberates, and, you know, there's a million people talking at a time.
Everything's kind of on top of everything else.
Yeah, and the sound of, like, whirring engines from spaceships going overhead, and the sound of vehicles both grav and wheeled and tracked, like, kind of moving throughout the city, and the kind of, like, dust cloud of it's probably pollution of some sort, kind of just hanging over the city. It's a little bit jarring, probably, from being in the company of, 5 people for the past month.
So one more annoying thing is what you're telling me.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
And so you get off, and you have the directions on your compad, right, to get to the office. You're at the complex, so it's not like you have to go outside and go anywhere. So eventually you're walking through the hallways and stuff, and this place is really poorly laid out, too. Like,
of course. You
would assume Office 106 is on the first floor, but you actually find out that all even numbers are on the second floor, and then all odd numbers are on the first floor. Yeah, and so, like, you're like, fuck! And then you have to go upstairs. One more annoying thing.
Yeah.
And when you walk in, you can see that, like, on the outside, it has, like, a name placard, right? That's all. It's a holographic name placard, and it's like hi, I'm Julia, and it actually speaks to you when you, like, approach the door.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, hi, I'm Julia, acquisitions officer here. If you need anything, please come in. Right? It's just like,
Yeah, I go in.
Yeah, you open up the door, and as soon as you, like, turn the handle and open up the door, the recording stops, like, it cuts off.
Okay.
And you can see, kind of typing behind her desk, sitting in a very kind of, like, prim posture is, she's a smallish woman, probably in her late 20s or so. She's got her hair, it's probably about mid-back length, kind of straightened and pulled back, and she's got a headband on that kind of keeps out of her face. It's like a platinum blonde almost. And she's typing on her computer, and she's wearing like a pantsuit, like a very professional pantsuit. She's clearly not like a medical professional. She's clearly like here specifically for this job. Yeah. And as you enter, she looks up and she says, "Oh, greetings. How may I be of assistance today? My name's Julia," and she stands up to shake your hand.
I'd probably just sit down.
Yeah. And yeah, I think she tries to like play it off by like rubbing on her pants or something, keeping her, award-winning smile up.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, how are we doing today?
I'd probably give her a very rough look, and I'm like, let's start the conversation off with a different question.
All right. What can I do for you?
Hold on 1 second. I need information before we start this next sentence. Oh, we don't have the technical name of the ship anywhere on the ship.
I mean, yeah. Would you guys assume that?
Well, Fortune's lost his sense of anything right now. So he's just very straightforward, like facts. I'd probably like, I'm here with the free merchant ship.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm actually seeing if Boomer has it on his character sheet anywhere. There is something in there that says, "Hi, Will."
That was from me when I took over his character sheet.
Yeah, it actually doesn't say. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's Apollo. Well, actually, you guys would have been able to like name it whatever you want, but yeah, it's an Apollo class freighter.
Yeah.
You probably so that's the thing though. You probably have like a reference number for the delivery. Right? Yeah. So you show her that, and she's like, "Oh, I'll check on this right away." And you see her, she takes the number and like it transfers over to her compad, and she jacks into her computer, and you see it pulls up, and she says, "Ah, yes, delivery to be paid in full. I see here 2,500 credits for Class 2 medical supplies. When would you like to coordinate the offload of this?"
We don't have those anymore.
Yeah, and I think there's like, you see her demeanor, she kind of like, there's like a twitch, almost. Like, in her eye, she's like, her eye just twitches a little bit, and she says, "Oh, well, that's most irregular. How can we rectify this situation?"
Well, I'll give you what we have left for free.
And she's like, "Oh, well, okay. We've technically already paid for the supplies. This was just the delivery fee. So us not receiving the supplies is going to cause perhaps some logistical issues with my higher-ups."
Well, I didn't tell you to pay for the supplies before you got them.
Yeah, and I think she kind of like, "Oh, okay, well, I see." And you see her begin typing on her computer, and she says, "Approximately how much of this remaining shipment do you have?"
How much of this shipment do we have?
I
know it wasn't much.
You had like, was it 10 tons of it? You have like a ton of it left, probably like a single crate that's salvageable.
Well, we have a crate and a couple of scrap leftover stuff.
Ah, yes. And if you don't mind, what happened to the rest of it?
We had some pirates land on our ship.
Ah, yes, pirates. Indeed. Well, this is a most unusual business transaction we are performing here. But we will certainly be able to take what you want. Now, I can't speak for the repercussions from Yuri Pylos or my own company, as this was a delivery from them to them, kind of. So,
Okay, but someone's gonna come pick up the stuff off our ship.
Yes, certainly. How is in about 2 hours sound?
Sure.
Very well. It was a pleasure doing business with you, Mr. Fuller.
Okay, and where do we drop off the ice?
I'm sorry, I don't have any requisition orders for ice.
Okay. I just get up and walk out.
Yeah, and like when you close the door, you hear behind you, "Hi, I'm Julia, acquisitions
I turn around
officer."
and rip it off the wall.
Yeah, you just rip it off the wall, and like you see her kind of like she does the thing where like she leans to the side to like look out the window at you walking away, and you see her just shake her head and kind of like smooth her hair out and like she's like centering herself, and goes back to her desk and begins typing her report.
Okay. I would also like to go to wherever the ice was supposed to go.
Yeah, so that is in the same port, but it's to a different consumer.
That's fine.
Yeah, and you look up, and that is for a it's for a mass food vendor here on the planet, like a franchise, basically Space McDonald's, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, you go, and that's kind of neither here nor there. You still have the ice, you coordinate the delivery. It's not really a huge deal when it comes to actually coordinating that, and they'll have somebody there to pick that up.
Okay.
So you do get paid for that, which is a healthy 4,000 credits.
Yay. So
that should almost cover our non-personnel damages.
Yeah. So we've got $1,300 or 1,300 credits in the spacecraft GoFundMe at the moment.
Indeed. So, what else do you do, Fortune? Or do you just head back to the ship at that point?
Yeah, I just go back to the ship. Once the pickups have been established, I just go back to the ship and wait for someone to come pick up our shit.
Yeah, totally. So, what is everybody else doing in this period of time while you guys are waiting for your stuff to be offloaded?
So long as the doctor is there, Oscar, I mean, he was previously able to provide some useful information, so he is probably not going to go far, so long as any of those people are on the ship.
Yeah, I think I think that determines very much on the conversation between, if there is a conversation had between Dr. Fisher and that guy. But I lost track of time. Why don't we take a break here, and we'll come back and we'll figure out what the conversation between the fair doctors, how that went down and how it occurred, which will determine the next sequence of events. And let's be back at 20 after. Let's be back 8 minutes. Sound good to everybody?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
See you in a few. Okay, guys, we're going to take a little break. I'm going to turn on some music, have a lot of fun. Let me go here. Boom. Let me do this. And we'll see you in a few minutes.